Lippitt, owner of the Hill Street Group and host of Communication is an Art, the podcast. I'm a communications strategist, a public speaker, and a leadership trainer. Most weeks, I'll be joined by other communication specialists, but every few weeks, you'll hear from just me to equip you, the listener, with practical tools and strategies to navigate through your day with confidence. These podcasts are always non-scripted and conversational. So let's dive into this together. Hey everyone. Today I have an interesting thing that's been sitting on my mind that I want to talk about. You know, there are all kinds of bosses. Are bosses leaders? They should be leaders, and we'll be talking about that a little bit. But bosses are bosses. They're the ones you have to account to. They're the ones who, in the end, decide if you're a good fit for the organization. There's many things about bosses. There are good bosses and bad bosses, autocratic bosses, and bosses who want too much information from everyone, bosses who micromanage, and bosses who let you fly. But something's been kind of irking at me lately. I keep seeing things for girl bosses, you know, classes for girl bosses, how to be a good girl boss. I have to tell you, in 2026, the thought that anyone is still saying a girl boss really just makes me kind of cringe. I don't know about you, but I have never heard the term boy boss. Maybe woman boss to man boss, but have you ever heard anyone say a man boss? So today's a day about equality and human rights, and it's actually I'm recording this on Martin Luther King Day, and I just think that it's just not the right thing. I don't know why it's hitting me this hard, but I just find that it's something that's such a throwback to a time that I didn't think we live in anymore, or we would live in anymore. So I want to talk about why I feel there are bosses who are good, bad, or indifferent, but never based on their sex. Never. I want to lead with a quote today that is actually attributed to Shirley Chisholm. If you don't know who she is, I recommend that right now, okay, not right now, give me 8 minutes to finish today's little recording, and then look up the woman Shirley Chisholm. She was just a hero, not a heroine, a hero of mine when I was growing up. She was elected to Congress in 1972. She was the first Black woman member of Congress, and she actually ran for president in 1972. She is attributed with this phenomenal saying that deals with men and women in the workplace. This is when it's appropriate. She said, if there isn't a seat at the table, bring your own chair. I'm going to repeat that. If there isn't a seat at the table, bring your own chair. Now, I started working many, many years ago, and trust me, may have been seats at the table, but they were not necessarily welcoming seats. I spent most of my career as the only woman or one of one or two women in influential rooms. I was really lucky. There was a seat for me. I'm not sure how much anyone listened to me. Over the years, I've learned to talk a lot less and talk about more meaningful things and just skip the stuff that I don't really care about. Let somebody else talk about that in a room. But making that seat for a woman is something you have to do for yourself. But once you have the seat, hopefully in today's day and age, you will be judged on your merits as a human being, not because you are a man or a woman or a she, they, their, pick a thing. There are so many different options right now, and that's a good thing. But why are we putting people in pegs in holes? You know, the square peg in the round hole about girl bosses. Can you tell it really bothers me? So let's talk about a good boss. I've had good bosses. I really have. It's hard to imagine, right? But I have good bosses. A good boss brings out the best in you, right? It's about what they can help you with, not about how they help themselves. I don't know, just like things that come to the top of my mind are bosses who gave me a chance when I was young, who let me have a flyer to do things, who have often said to me afterwards, I'll give you a good example, who often have said to me afterwards, wow, like, wow. And here's a good example. I ran a nonprofit, and it was pretty much of a startup nonprofit. And we had a decent board of directors, but I wanted us to get more attention. And it was a really good potential nonprofit. There was really room for growth and room for respect. And so I said to the president, who totally let me fly. I mean, a president in a nonprofit is your boss, right? We know that. And I said to him, I think we need an advisory board. And he said to me, okay, if that makes you happy, let's have an advisory board. Let me know when, you're ready and whatever. And he read the letter, that I proposed we send out to people. And it took about probably a month to put everything together. And then I handed him the list of the people who said yes to being on the advisory board. State leaders, elected officials, CEOs, leaders of other nonprofits, names in the community that garner such respect for the work they do professionally and nonprofit wise. I asked about 32 people, 31 said yes. The one who said no is a conversation for another day. We're going to ignore that. But the people said yes. And he looked at me and said, we have a new relationship here. You've only been around a few months and you're the first full-time person here. And I thought it was a nice idea. But now I know you and I recognize what potential we have here. I mean, talk about making your day. I was recommended for the position. I was actually told that he was told if he wanted the organization to succeed, he best have a conversation and hire me. I mean, so it started out with flattery, and I was really proud of that moment. It's one of the moments in my career I'm the most proud of, that was my reputation. I don't come from a family that's got like this huge name in the community in terms of wealth or whatever. I come from a good family. I come from a nice family, but I don't come from a multi-generational, able to give whatever. My mother was a first generation American. I'm very proud of that. My dad was a second generation American, also proud of that. Their parents were both all proud of them. But I really had made a name for myself, both in the work world and in the nonprofit world, to the point that this was said about me. I mean, talk about a goal and something that you never expect to happen, that it just comes out of the blue. It was a phone call one day, and the president said, "Are you interested in meeting?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm available. What time today?" We actually met that week, and then I had a few more, conversations or whatever, and was hired at the end of a couple weeks. And You know what? The nonprofit I had worked for actually had a major fundraiser coming up. And though I really didn't want to lose the new job at all whatsoever, I said to the president and the hiring group, you know, I have to stay through this fundraiser at the beginning of next month. It's about a month away. I have to stay for that. And they looked at me and I said, well, I kind of made them a promise and I don't want to be the person who walks away a month before the major event of the year. That could kill my reputation. And my reputation is so important to me. And you know what? They said absolutely, and they were fine with it. And I kind of came in and did a little homework in the background and did a little, digging and got kind of up to speed on my own time. But I think it was a reflection of the good bosses that I've had, and also watching not good bosses I've had who have really micromanaged and put everything in just a really bad place for employees. I don't want to go into that too much because that could be another hour and a half. But I like to talk about good things and I like to be respectful of people who are respectful of me. So that's the story I'm going to have for today. And I want to remind you, it wasn't because I was a girl boss. It wasn't because I was a woman boss. It was because I was a boss who was a leader, who had paid my dues in the community and in the workplace and knew what was important to me to start out a new career that was really good for a long time. I left to go out on my own, but it really was, to me, the way I would want to respect someone else. And I was really glad that I was respected. So just be a boss, be a leader, be someone who is committed to other people succeeding, because other people's success really is your success. And that old phrase, it takes a village. So I want to wrap back to Shirley Chisholm. If there isn't a seat for you at the table, bring your own chair. I want you to look up who Shirley Chisholm was. I will put something in the notes below so you can link to some pages for her. And I'd love to hear what you think about today. So keep going, keep moving, and I will be back with my next podcast soon. Have a good week, everyone. Hi, this is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group. Thank you for listening to Communication is an Art. Make sure you subscribe and continue to listen. We really appreciate it. Share with your friends all those different lovely things. And we will be back soon. Have a great day.